Okay, President Biden's student loan relief plan appears to be in rough waters as several Supreme Court justices casted doubt on the plan earlier this week. It's becoming a growing concern for millions of Americans that owe student loans, but a welcome sign for lenders like SoFi and its investors. Take a look at this. SoFi stock up more than 5% this week and up nearly 50% on the year. Pessimism is good for some. Our Rick Newman is taking a closer look in this week's Bidenomics. Rick, your biggest takeaway from the hearings this week and the implications, sir?
Yeah, the Biden's student debt relief plan is on death watch, basically. The justices who heard the case this week sounded pretty skeptical. Let's keep in mind there's a 6-3 conservative majority on this Supreme Court. In a lot of cases, their inclination has been to dial back federal government power rather than expand federal government power. And a lot of analysts think just based on the legal reasoning, they're likely to strike down Biden's student debt relief plan. And this is not just the usual behind the scenes political wrangling in Washington. The stakes are huge. I mean, there are like 43 million people who would benefit from this, and it would relieve up to $20,000 of student debt. And there is no plan B here, at least none that the White House has revealed. So if the Supreme Court does knock this down, that means millions of borrowers are going to be out of luck. Now, I think we will see the Biden White House try to do something else if that's what happens. But we're not going to see a decision here probably until about the end of June. And then it will probably be some time after that before we hear what the Biden administration is going to do about it. But I think these are going to be a tense few months while we wait for this Supreme Court decision, at least for student debt borrowers.
Yeah, Rick, you mentioned that something else. Any idea what that could potentially look like or could potentially be here from the Biden administration? How do you think this really affects potentially his approval rating, given that he promised debt relief to millions of Americans time and time again?
Well, Biden can say one thing to the voters who really care about this, and that tends to be younger voters for obvious reasons. He can certainly say, I tried. I mean, he did actually put a debt relief plan into place. They got millions of applications for debt relief. The train was going down the tracks. That relief was underway. And then I think surprising nobody, there were these lawsuits challenging the constitutionality of this plan because he did it by executive order. And that led to the Supreme Court. So I don't think anybody in the Biden White House is surprised at the legal challenges or surprised that this ended up in the Supreme Court. And I don't think they'll even be surprised if the Supreme Court kills the plan. The question is, do they have something else up their sleeves that they will be able to offer in its place? And I think they're going to try. No matter what, I think Biden is going to keep trying to do student debt relief for the remainder of his term, because this is something he promised to voters in 2020. It's a big issue for progressives in the Democratic Party, and I don't think he's going to back down.
So how else could he find some of this money for students? And thinking about the political implications here, Rick, do you think either party pays for this? And I don't mean financially, I mean pays at the poll.
Right. So this could be a little more potent as a political issue in 2024 than it was in 2020, if only for the fact that Biden put it in place and a conservative Supreme Court, or call it a Republican-dominated Supreme Court, killed the plan, if that is in fact what happened. So it's not a matter of finding the money. It's a matter of finding the legal justification for this. If Congress wanted to do this by passing a law, that would probably withstand a Supreme Court challenge. And the reason is, if Congress made a law, then the law itself would be on the books. And what's happening now by doing this through executive order is that Biden is interpreting old laws, in this case, one dating to 2003, that really were not about student debt relief, at least not the way Biden is doing it. And he's saying that old law that was really intended for something else gives me the authority to repeal all of this debt. And the people challenging that say, no, it doesn't. And it looks like those opponents of this have a pretty good case to the Supreme Court. So what Biden could do is try to find a different legal justification for this and do it all over again through another executive order. That once again would probably go through the courts. He could also try to build on this other plan that has gotten a lot less attention. It's a way to adjust what borrowers owe based on their income. Biden made that plan more generous earlier this year. And there are ways you could change that plan a lot more that would effectively become debt forgiveness over time. But it's complicated. All of these things are subject to legal challenges. If the next administration comes in and doesn't like any of this, they can undo it. So really uncertain where this is all headed.
Yeah, and no way $400 billion in student loan relief gets through the House. Zero chance, leaving this country with a massive debt bomb down the road. But what else is new?
No, I mean, I'll point out the Democrats couldn't do this when they controlled both houses of Congress. So there's no chance that if Republicans have any control over Congress, this will happen.
Very good point. Enjoy the weekend. Read that, Bidenomics, right now on Yahoo Finance. Thank you, my friend.